Hello, how y'all doing today? Listen, when it comes to business taxes, deductions, and your bottom line, I talk about it all the time because it is so crucial that you have adequate books and records. It's important that you keep track of your books. And it's equally important that you understand your business finances so that you can have a pulse as to what's going on in your business. Like, there's no way around it. There's no two ways about it. This is a requirement. It's something that you must do for the vibrancy of your business. And so it's something that I don't necessarily just talk to you all about all the time, but I have these types of conversations with my co-laborers, my colleagues in the industry. So I just thought it was very important because my girlfriend and I, LaKeisha Williams, the bookkeeper, okay, and I were having a conversation about this very thing. And I just wanted to invite her into this conversation to share with you all so y'all won't think I'm crazy. Like, I just be preaching to the, I know y'all don't think I'm crazy, right? I know y'all don't think I'm crazy, but I just wanted to bring LaKeisha in so that we can have a quick fireside chat. And I wanted you guys to hear from another trusted resource. LaKeisha don't want me to tell y'all how long she's been doing it because I know she looked just as young as I do, right? Listen, we are no spring chickens. We are not new to this. We are not new to the scene. LaKeisha has tons of experience under her belt. So I just wanted to bring her in and so that we can have a quick conversation with you. You know that Tried and True Financial Services is established to help entrepreneurs with the ABCs of finance, to simplify your accounting, budgeting, and or bookkeeping wherever the need is, and credit services. And so today I'm going to have a quick conversation with LaKeisha. And the first thing we want to talk to you about today is how to keep your records in order for effective bookkeeping, tax planning, and tax preparation. So, LaKeisha, welcome to Tax Tip Tuesday with Tried and True Financial Services. How you doing today, sis?
I'm doing great, and thank you for inviting me.
Oh, you're very welcome. So I was just telling the audience that you heard, you here with me, but I know we were recently having this conversation, and I said, listen, I need you to come on live with me so that the people can get a little bit of wisdom from you about this topic. So do you mind sharing with them about what, from your vantage point of being the bookkeeper for so many years, of what you recommend to your clients? And what you would recommend to our listening audience as it pertains to keeping their records in order.
Okay, so in order to keep your records in order, I strongly feel that for a manual system, if you're not computer savvy, tech savvy, it's best to probably have them in manila envelopes and sort them by month. Make sure you have your bank statements, which is like your source document, so that your bookkeeper or tax preparer can use that document to reconcile and or possibly capture all expenses and income. What else? The best thing is, if you don't want manual and you want to be up to date and you want your books to be current, have an accounting system, pay for a software subscription, whether it's QuickBooks, FreshBooks. Also, with QuickBooks, I know for sure if you have a cell phone, it's best to use your phone, use the software. You can snap the receipt and keep the receipt off base in a folder. But at least if you capture that receipt, you can upload it in QuickBooks. And then once the bank fee in QuickBooks matches that receipt, it's posted to the books with no problems at all. What else? I think that's it.
That's
I do this.
good. That's good information because we got two sides of the coin. For people that may not be ready for prime time, they're not ready to pay the monthly bookkeeping fee that it costs, not just for the software, but there's a service fee. You know what I'm saying? We like to eat too. We don't work for free, even though we love
Right.
what we do. It comes at a cost, right? And so if a business owner is not quite ready to pay a bookkeeper to manage their books from a month-to-month basis, then there is a way to do it manually. LaKeisha shared some good tips as far as keeping envelopes, 12 months worth of envelopes, and keeping all of your receipts and your bank statements in each respective month so that you can be a little bit more organized. I think that is a great tip. But even beyond that, to just maybe even just using a spreadsheet. Is something that I always recommend for my clients, to just put it in a spreadsheet. That way that once you type all your numbers in, then it's a lot easier to just calculate it at the end of the year to come up with your annual profit and loss statement. And I'm not going to get ahead because we're going to talk a little bit about financial statements in a few minutes, but it is so critically important that whatever system you use, whether it's a manual system, whether it's a kind of quasi manual system where what you're using technology to the extent of using like an Excel spreadsheet or something like that, on up to the most ideal way to do it, and that is to use a software system. Now, whether or not you want to DIY and do it yourself, that's an option as well. You can do it yourself, but at least know what you're doing, because garbage in, garbage out, right? LaKeisha, I know you've done
Yes.
a lot of cleanups and had to go behind people and clean up some messes that they made, because if you don't know what you're doing, it's best to go ahead and hire a professional. Would you agree with that?
Yes, it's best. I've come across where some small business owners will try to tack on the bookkeeping role and create a bigger mess. I would suggest, if you're going to use software, do not include your personal accounts with your business accounts.
Oh Lord,
Sometimes
you talking about commingling?
No commingling at all. And going back to the Excel spreadsheet, I've had a situation where someone used a spreadsheet. I've already had QuickBooks, everything tied in QuickBooks, but they added what was in QuickBooks and what they paid personally into the spreadsheet, and that causes confusion. So if you're going to use a spreadsheet, make sure you create like a register where you know where or how that transaction was paid for.
Absolutely.
The easiest I find. And then also with receipts, you need to write on the receipt what it's for. That helps, especially if you're having meals, if it's a business meal with multiple people, you need to write down what was discussed, the purpose of the meeting, who was there, things of that nature.
Absolutely. That is a good gem. She just dropped a nugget on y'all. Make sure y'all not only keep the receipts, but make sure that you write on the receipt what the nature of that meeting was for, because that's going to be important in case of an IRS audit. And IRS audit is not the topic of today's topic, but we definitely want to make sure that you understand and know that we're in full transparency, sharing with you what you need to know to set you up for success. So that if something happens, then as the professionals, we're in a much better position to be able to consult you through the process onto the other side of victory. All right. All right, well, let's move on to our next topic of discussion, which is, and we touched on it a little bit, but let's talk about how to use technology for your benefit to keep track of critical documents. So you talked a little bit about using QuickBooks, being able to access it from your cell phone, uploading the receipts, but let's talk about the one favorite thing that always comes up when it deals with people using their vehicles and mileage and being able to track their mileage. What type of technology or for mileage or for any other high topic type items would you recommend or would you like to share with the people?
Well, I would say if you're not tech savvy, you can always go to Office Depot /Max or Staples and buy like the vehicle log, the manual, the old school. They still sell them. You can write that down. But I found that was easy by us having Android phones or iPhones. Usually I'm an Android user. So in order to have an Android phone, to use it properly, you have to use your Gmail account. And then within Maps will tell you exactly where you've been, how long you were there. And you can use the locations to actually pinpoint. I mean, it's a lot of work, but if you want to actually use that as a tool and put it in a spreadsheet or a notebook, that'll be most helpful. And your tax preparer, your CPA or accountant will appreciate that versus a guesswork. So,
Absolutely.
and I believe I
Absolutely.
heard of my IQ too. I'm sorry if I
Yes,
didn't say
Mile
that.
IQ is one that I always throw out because I think it's very user friendly. I think it's very easy to use to the point where you just tap the app and let them know when you're driving in your vehicle, whether it's a business trip or whether it's a personal trip. And then at the end of the year, you can print out a log. You can print out a report that shows where you've been, how many miles you've driven, the total amount of miles that you've driven. So really, technology is your friend, and the day and time that we're living in where artificial intelligence is on the rise, technology is really our friend. But I totally understand if people decide that they don't want to use, yep. If people don't want to use it and they want to write it in their notebook or something like that, but it's a lot easier if, or it takes the burden off if you just embrace technology and just go ahead, tap the app and let them know whether you're going on a business trip or a personal trip. And from a tax perspective, a mileage log is required if you're going to take the mileage deduction. There's other things and there's other technology with QuickBooks. There's so many apps that can integrate in with QuickBooks. What other apps are you? Okay? Yep, that's the mileage app.
No.
Absolutely,
It's mileage. It's mileage within QuickBooks online on the
mileage
phone.
within QuickBooks. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So not even mileage IQ with the integration, but their QuickBooks has leveled up and added a mileage functionality right within QuickBooks. So if you're using QuickBooks, there's no excuse if you're moving around for business not to be keeping track of your mileage. Any other tips or pointers on how to use technology?
Um, it's
Document.
best to have for like Google Drive, Dropbox, OneDrive, Microsoft OneDrive. I
Yes.
use Dropbox, so it's easier to upload the documents, and make sure you share that information with your tax accountant, tax preparer, or accountant, whomever is preparing the
Yeah.
taxes, and or your bookkeeper. I prefer that more so than a bag of receipts.
Absolutely. Because if they come in with a bag of receipts, uh, that's going to turn into an hourly rate,
Yes, that's
right?
a lot of maintenance organization. Yes.
Yeah. So you can't just drop off the back a box of receipts or a pack of envelopes and expect for someone like the bookkeeper or Tried and True Financial Services to just add that into the service fee for your bookkeeping or for your tax prep, because that's going to become at an additional cost. All right. And so for me, from a tax prep standpoint, I require all of my business owners to provide me with a profit and loss statement in order to do their tax return. If they come to me with 12 months worth of bank statements and receipts, and that's a bookkeeping engagement. And so I'm going to have to charge you the full amount for what you didn't do all year, because now you want me to do a year's worth of consolidation and reconciliation to come up with your annual profit and loss, your annual income and expenses. And that's time consuming. So, absolutely. Well, going on and talking about our last point today, the last thing we want to talk about is how to read financial statements to make them work for you. So, what are some of the things that, or the pointers or processes that you use with your clients once you've completed their month end reconciliations and it's time to do a quarterly or annual financial read on their statements? What's the process, and what do you recommend to clients?
Usually, I provide monthly financial statements.
Okay.
Some require and some don't. If they have, usually most business owners, without even looking at the books, they know their numbers. And it's one of those things, you look at the income, that's most important. And they also like to look at the bottom line. And then they work their way up to the expenses. And usually if you have employees or contractors, that's like the highest number, and advertising. But for the
Yeah.
most part, At the end of the year is when people really want to discuss numbers. Beginning of the year, mid-year, not so much, but probably anything ending October, November, they want to start doing tax planning.
Yeah.
To figure out how to handle that bottom line number as of December 31st. But depending on the business, that most people that I work with, unfortunately, they really do not question the numbers. They just, it'll be nice if they would, but they do not. So they understand what goes. But if I have like a question, like one person in particular, I believe, was it a 21 cleanup or 2020? Whenever COVID happened, and they didn't want, and you can't request this. It is what it is. You have to go by guidelines. You got to be in compliance.
Compliance. Come on now.
If your PPP loan is forgiven, you can't say no. I can't. You can't claim that as income. If it's forgiven, it is income. Unfortunately, it goes on the P&L. So there's certain things that people feel like it shouldn't go on the P&L. No, it should go on the P&L. But then again, let me back up. Some really don't understand what's balance sheet accounts and what are profit and loss statement accounts.
Yeah.
Some people just don't. And some people are still stuck saying income statement. So we have to help them say no, P&L, profit and loss. But either way, it's the same statement. So some people may put actual loan, which is not an expense. And some people feel like, I guess, a lot of business owners, they sign up for loans, like I think it's PayPal credit, for instance. And as a bookkeeper, I see certain things, I'm going to question it. And Absolutely. So when you give those questions back to the client, they'll come back and say, well, why do you need that? Well, I need to capture every single thing so I can make sure I have the principal and I have the interest. If not, you can't just dump everything to interest because it's not correct. And then when you get that last statement saying, hey, this is all the interest that you paid for this particular loan, it has to tie out, it has to match. So just depend on the business. Some numbers need to be explained. Well, others is like in, out, consulting is the easiest one.
Yeah.
Or who else? It may be a service business, not service, restaurant. They know they sell food and beverages. And then you have supplies and you have payroll. So in that business, the biggest ticket is going to be payroll and supplies, cost of goods sold. So
that's good. That is good. I find the same thing happening where people really don't understand their financials and they don't know the difference from a profit and loss statement versus a balance sheet. And the easiest way I try to explain it to them is that your profit and loss is just that. It's your profit and or your loss. So it's your income and your expenses. And your balance sheet is your assets and your liabilities. So anything you own versus anything you owe. So if it's a loan, that's not income or expenses. It's a loan. So that's a balance sheet, activity versus money that's coming in from a service or product that you provided or sold, right? Correct. Or an expense, something that you paid out to an operating expense, something that you spent, to operate your business. And so I think at the end of the day, it just takes continuous education. And I tell people all the time that even if you don't understand it all, and you're not necessarily expected to understand it, all of it, because that's why you've delegated it to a professional. But I tell people you still should listen because believe it or not, you will pick up and you will absorb. We're sponges. Really, we are. Children are sponges. We are just big children, right? We're sponges as well. So if you listen to the information enough, and it's directly tied to your business, right? If you listen to the information enough, it'll begin to stick. You're not expected to know it to where you can do these things, but you should, as the business owner, you have a moral obligation to understand and know your numbers. And so we're going to end on that note, all about knowing your numbers. So today's segment of Tax Tip Tuesday has been brought to you by none other than Tried and True Financial Services and The Bookkeeper. We are here at your service to bring you critical information, news that you can use about how to run your business more effectively, how important it is to understand and know your numbers, to make sure that you're putting in place the necessary software, the tools, and the resources to be able to track your numbers so that you can make better buying decisions, better business decisions, and grow your bottom line. Any final thoughts, LaKeisha?
Not at this moment. Just start preparing everything. What's December 8th? Start preparing everything like now.
Start
Because
now.
January 1st is here. It's around the corner.
Yep. If we blink too many more times,
Yes.
it's going to be the end of the year, and we're going to be gearing up for tax season. And so I know a lot of your clients are going to be wanting their year-end financials done in a timely fashion, and fraud is at an all-time high. So I tell my clients as well, one way to prevent fraud is to make sure that you file your taxes as soon as possible. Even if you feel like you're going to owe, it's best to just go ahead and file it as soon as possible to avoid from someone else getting a hold of your information and filing a fraudulent tax return, fudging the numbers in their favor so that they can get a refund off of your information. And then now you have a big mess that you have to deal with. So fraud is yet at an all-time high. So make sure that you have your books in order. Make sure that you're ready for tax time when it comes, and make sure that you tap the bookkeeper and or tried and true financial services on the shoulders to get the help that you need, because we're here for you. We love what we do, and we're here for it. All right.
I'm ready.
Okay. All right. She says she's ready. Y'all heard that. The bookkeeper is ready, and Tried and True Financial Services is ready as well. And make sure that you understand and know that if you need a discount on QuickBooks, I'm sure the bookkeeper has some service links as well, but 30% off on QuickBooks for 6 months over at www.triedandtruefs.com/links. Or make sure that you feel free to reach out and schedule your free consultation at www.triedandtruefs.com. And we are here working in tandem because there's more than enough room for all of us to have a seat at the table. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been real.
Bye.